right. You know, they reveal themselves by their behavior. Feminists do. And they hide behind the power of the state. Because ultimately that is the threat. That is what they use to destroy you, a man. You see, women don't need to threaten men. They just need to be women. Women don't need to manipulate men. They're just women. Women don't need what feminist women need. They don't need to control men. Time and again, I hear from men that they are denied their lives, their personal lives they had prior to the relationship. So if feminist women were good and they wanted to be with a man, and because they love him, they wouldn't try and change him. Any woman that tries changing a man is a feminist. Any woman who is loud is a feminist. Any woman who wants to participate in male activities is a feminist. Think about it. Feminists are materialistic. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't see a unicorn driving a Lincoln, for example. Just because she's in a nice car doesn't mean she's a feminist. Right? Just because a woman dresses nice doesn't mean she's a feminist. But it's their behavior beyond that. It's the words they use. It's the actions they take that reveal the philosophy that they live by. And I have heard from far too many men now that they have tried satisfying feminists, their feminist wives. They talk about how they're in a relationship, first short term, then even longer. And at some point, the woman makes an ultimatum, a demand that her desires be met. And then they turn around after getting what they want and start to control the guy. They want marriage, they want the house. They start making demands, or else. The or else is the threat. Now, of course, some feminists are more subtle than others. They don't threaten. They just whine a lot and complain a lot. And when they don't get their way, they leave. That is still a feminist. When what she wants requires her needs to be met with money or a behavioral change on a man, that is a feminist. Now, obviously, if a man is a bachelor, say in his 20s, he meets the girl of his dreams who looks great, talks great, treats him great, she's going to expect or hope that he marries her. She's going to expect and hope that he wants to have children. But before she marries him, she needs to make sure that he's willing to give all those things. He needs to be willing or sure that he's willing to give up portions of his life. Right? Say a young bachelor that goes out 5 nights a week drinking with his buddies, that if he's married, that's going to change somewhat. But that's not how feminists operate. They either join you at the bar and drive your friends away, or they stop you from going to the bar altogether. Sometimes they can do it in a week or a month. Sometimes it takes a couple years, but ultimately, men are subdued because feminists make demand in a man's life and change him. Change him fundamentally from what he was and they claim that they fell in love with into something else. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "You're not the man I met." I'm like, no shit. You fucking demanded I change, that I grow up, that I mature. You're not the man I came to love. No, I'm totally different. You did this to me. The man I fell in love with wasn't angry all the time. If you put a vice grip on an animal's leg and left it cinched down, right, it hurts. It's going to make you mad. There are so many analogies to describe the way we as men are at some point in our life detrimentally manipulated to serve a woman's needs that I can't get to them all. It's impossible. It's impossible. And I really do believe that a woman's graces and pleasures are bestowed upon a man, and that it can never get better than that. I'm not saying it's impossible that they can retain that, but it'll never get better than that, because they give all they have in order to sell themselves. And all the stories that I hear from other men, no matter how much the woman makes, whether it's less than the man, the same as, or more than a man, the feminist woman always demands all of his money, all of his time, all of his sacrifice. Always. And that when it comes down to it, when it's time for them to leave, it comes down to money. Men, we want to escape with our lives and take as much money with us as we are possibly able. Women, when they want to escape a marriage, want to take as much as they can and then leave the man broke and destitute. I can't tell you guys how many stories I've heard where men are now living poor, and choosing to stay poor so that they don't have to pay alimony, because they don't want to work 3 times as hard and take 5 times the risk just to give it away. Because alimony, spousal support, is slavery. Now, it's interesting, in my case, I was told that I was underemployed and I should be making a lot more money. So regardless of my income level, I should be the one fucking paying. That is what a feminist lawyer would say. That's their belief system. Now, of course, my belief system follows along the same lines. That all women are underemployed. That they could be making big bucks working in a whorehouse, because that's within their skill level. That's within their competency and their pay grade. And that they could, even while sleeping, make a darn good income from men who need their manly needs satisfied and are willing to pay cash for it. I'm sure that if I took that to court, the judge, who may snicker and go, yep, I can see the validity in that point, right, would never allow that to stand in court. See, what kills me here is everyone knows that feminism is wrong. Everyone knows it. Men know it. The women that are feminists that participate while they deny it's feminism, and they want their fair share, and they make legal arguments, they know it's wrong. Judges are bound by some rules and statutes, and they know what they're doing is not morally correct. Because there's a difference between law and equity. But you'll find law and equity in a courtroom. Equity is fair, right? Is it fair for a woman to take away his life, his friends, his property? Is that fair? No, but it's equitable in court. Because you can't. Now, I wish it was equitable, that you could stand in front of a judge and say, Your Honor, I gave up all of these things, and all of those things I gave up in order to satisfy her have real value. The fact that I, as a man, thought I was buying love with my good heart and my good effort, with my commitment. I thought that's what I was getting, exchanging. And instead, I gave those things and received nothing for it. I want just compensation in equity. But apparently that can't be proved. But apparently it can be proved that a woman's entitled to a man's assets just because she was with him. Apparently, in equity, that makes sense to somebody. And it's now embodied in law. Fascinating, no? So what is it? Are all women feminists? I think that a man today has to look at every woman and think of her as such, until such time as she proves it, and then he knows. And men, if you know she's a feminist, what are you doing with her? If you can talk about feminism and describe how evil it is, how sinister it is, how corrupting it is, how it's destroyed America and destroyed men, if you can have that conversation with a woman and she can recite it to you back and says she agrees with you, that does not mean she is not a feminist. That does not make her a true woman. Because many women know exactly what they're doing. They do it on purpose. Go to any brew pub or bar and just spend a little time there and watch. There'll be women that sit at the bar and let men buy them drinks. And maybe some guy will take one home. But they know what they're doing. Just as that woman who says, oh yeah, I see feminism for what it is. I see how it works. You're damn right they see how it works, because they've practiced it. They've practiced it. Trust me, you will not see a real woman in a bar. You go to a bar to find a piece of ass and feminists. And then you're bartering, you're bargaining, you're risking knocking her up, getting a venereal disease, being beaten up by her ex-boyfriends. You risk being stolen from. You risk having your heart ripped out and thrown to the ground and stepped on, because that's what feminists do. I've heard way too many stories about men who fell in love with a woman and discovered later that she was a feminist and realized what kind of danger he was in, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and there's nothing you can do about it. I myself have experienced women that demand. They don't care how hard you work and that it's your money. It's just that they want. They want, and you pay. I firmly believe that there truly are unicorns and Bigfoot and aliens and real women. It's just that you're never going to see one. And if you do, you wouldn't even recognize them. The same way you wouldn't recognize an alien like in the movies Men in Black, right? They look human. Right? They look human, and by human I mean those unicorn women, they look just like feminists, so you won't recognize them. You know, we now as men operate. We have to. Mgtow men have to operate from the perspective that every woman is our potential adversary. Think about it, guys. I mean, the point was made in one of the emails that your odds are better at Vegas at a blackjack table than they are with a woman.